Have you ever felt like you were standing on the edge of something great, but a small, persistent voice in the back of your head kept telling you that you weren't enough? Maybe you faced a mountain of rejections, or perhaps you've been told no so many times that you've started to believe the no is your final destination. If you have ever doubted your own potential or felt like an outsider in your own life, then you are exactly where you need to be. We are diving into a journey that is less about business strategy and much more about the soul-stirring process of learning to trust yourself when the rest of the world seems to be looking the other way. The core purpose of this book is to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you are meant to be by silencing the external noise and tuning into your own internal truth. It is a roadmap for anyone who has ever felt underestimated or unqualified. Through the experiences shared by Kern Lima, we explore the profound transformation that happens when you stop seeking permission from others and start giving it to yourself. This isn't just about achieving success. It's about the grit and the grace required to stay true to your vision when the path is covered in obstacles. There are a few high-level ideas we will explore today that serve as the foundation for this transformation. First, we will look at the concept of the knowing, that deep, intuitive gut feeling that tells you what is right, even when it doesn't make sense on paper. We will also discuss the idea that rejection is not a stop sign, but rather a form of redirection that prepares you for a greater purpose. Finally, we will touch on the immense power of authenticity, the radical act of showing up as your true self, even when the experts tell you that your true self isn't what the market wants. These ideas are designed to shift your perspective from seeking external validation to building an unshakable internal foundation. By the time we finish the summary, the goal is for you to feel equipped to handle the no's in your life with a new sense of confidence. You will begin to see your perceived flaws not as liabilities, but as the very things that make you uniquely qualified for your calling. It is about moving from "who am I to do this?" to "who am I not to?" If you find this summary helpful and it resonates with your journey, please take a moment to like this audio, share it with someone who might need a boost of belief today, and subscribe so you don't miss our future deep dives. Believe it, the deep dive into self-worth and success, the authority of the internal knowing. The first major concept we must understand is the difference between external expertise and internal knowing. In our lives, we are often taught to look outward for answers. We look to mentors, data, industry standards, and the opinions of people who seem to have more experience than we do. However, the book argues that there is a level of guidance that exists within you that no expert can replicate. This knowing is described as a physical sensation, a tug in your gut or a peace in your soul that signals you are on the right path, even if that path looks like a dead end to everyone else. Understanding this idea is important because the world will constantly try to talk you out of your own intuition. If you rely solely on logic or the consensus of others, you might walk away from a dream just because it hasn't been done before or because it doesn't fit a proven mold. The internal knowing is your compass in the dark. It is what allows you to distinguish between a no that means stop and a no that simply means not this way. When you cultivate the ability to hear your own voice above the roar of the crowd, you gain a type of sovereignty over your life that cannot be shaken by market trends or critics. To see this in practice, think of a time when you felt a strong urge to pursue a hobby or a career change, but everyone around you pointed out the risks. If you followed that urge despite the fear, you were honoring your knowing. It's that quiet confidence that says, "I don't have all the answers yet, but I know I'm supposed to be here." Now we move to the next point, which takes that internal confidence and tests it against the harsh reality of external resistance. Once you trust your knowing, you inevitably run into the no, transforming rejection into redirection. One of the most vital lessons we learn is that rejection is rarely a reflection of your worth or the quality of your ideas. Instead, it is often a necessary part of the refining process. We tend to view a no as a personal failure or a sign that we should give up. However, the book posits that every no you encounter is actually a form of protection or a push toward a better door. Rejection is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of a different, often better, path that you couldn't see yet. This is important because how you handle rejection determines your ultimate trajectory. If you internalize every no, you will eventually become too paralyzed to take risks. But if you view rejection as redirection, you can maintain your momentum. It allows you to stay in the game long enough for the right yes to find you. The key is to separate your identity from your outcomes. You are not your rejections. By reframing these moments as data points or divine interventions, you take the sting out of the experience and use it as fuel to keep moving forward. A simple way to look at this is like a GPS rerouting you. When the GPS says, make a U-turn, it isn't telling you that your destination doesn't exist. It's just telling you that the current road is blocked. Rejection is just the universe's way of saying, there's a more efficient way to get where you're going. Now we move to the next point, which explores what happens when you finally get the chance to speak your truth and have to decide how much of yourself you are willing to reveal. Authenticity as the ultimate competitive advantage. We live in a world that often rewards a polished, filtered version of reality. Because of this, there's a massive temptation to hide our flaws, our struggles, and our unconventional ideas in order to fit in or look professional. However, the book highlights that your authenticity, the very things you might be tempted to hide, is actually your greatest strength. When you show up as your full, unfiltered self, you create a connection with others that perfection can never achieve. People don't actually want to see perfect, they want to see real. This concept is essential because authenticity is the only thing that cannot be copied. In any industry or social circle, people can mimic your products, your style, or your words, but they cannot mimic your essence. By choosing to be vulnerable and honest about your journey, you give others permission to do the same. This builds a level of trust and loyalty that is far more powerful than any marketing strategy. Success that requires you to wear a mask is not true success because it leaves you feeling like a fraud. True success is being fully seen and fully accepted for exactly who you are. Imagine you are in a high-stakes meeting or a first date. The natural instinct is to present only your best highlights. But the moment you admit to a mistake or share a genuine struggle, the energy in the room shifts. That moment of me too is where real impact happens. Authenticity is about betting on the fact that your truth is enough. As we continue exploring the foundations of self-belief, we must confront one of the biggest hurdles many of us face, the feeling that we are simply not qualified to be in the room. This concept explores the idea that qualifications are often a social construct designed to keep people in specific boxes. The book argues that being qualified on paper, having the right degrees, the perfect resume, or the specific background, is far less important than having a deep, burning passion for your mission and a willingness to learn as you go. Many people wait to start until they feel they have checked every box, but the reality is that the most successful people often started while they were still unqualified by traditional standards. This idea is critical because imposter syndrome is a universal experience. If you wait until you feel 100% ready, you will likely wait forever. The book encourages us to redefine what it means to be a pro. A true professional isn't just someone with a certificate. It's someone who shows up, does the work, and refuses to let their lack of formal training stop them from solving a problem. When you stop obsessing over your lack of credentials, you free up energy to focus on your unique perspective. Your outsider status can actually be your biggest asset because you aren't burdened by the way things have always been done. You are free to innovate because you don't know the rules you're supposedly breaking. For example, think of someone starting a business in an industry they didn't major in. While others are following a standard playbook, the unqualified person might come up with a simpler, more effective solution precisely because they are looking at the problem with fresh eyes. This point is about realizing that your passion is your primary qualification. Now we move to the next point, which looks at how we maintain our stamina when that initial passion is tested by the long, difficult road ahead, anchoring your effort in a greater why. To sustain self-belief over the long haul, your mission must be anchored in something larger than personal gain or ego. The book emphasizes that when your why, your reason for doing what you do, is centered on serving others or solving a real-world struggle, it becomes an inexhaustible source of energy. If your goal is just to make money or get famous, you will likely burn out the moment things get difficult. But if your goal is to help a specific group of people or to change a narrative that you know is harmful, you find a second wind when everyone else is quitting. Understanding your why is important because it acts as your anchor during the messy middle of any journey. There will be seasons where the results aren't showing up, the bank account is low, and your confidence is wavering. In those moments, your why is what reminds you that the struggle is worth it. It shifts the focus from "what am I getting?" to "who am I helping?" This shift is psychologically transformative. It turns the pressure of performance into the privilege of service. When you are on a mission to serve, your ego takes a back seat, and you become much more resilient in the face of criticism. Consider the difference between someone trying to get fit just to look good versus someone trying to get fit so they can keep up with their children. The person with the deeper why is much more likely to stick to the routine when they are tired, because their motivation is tied to something they value more than their own comfort. In the same way, a business or a creative project built on service has a heartbeat that keeps it alive through the toughest winters. Now we move to the next point, which addresses the specific challenge of what to do when the people closest to you are the ones doubting your vision. Navigating the well-intentioned naysayers. One of the most painful parts of any journey toward self-belief is realizing that not everyone will come with you. This concept deals with the reality that even people who love you, friends, family, and longtime colleagues, might be the ones trying to hold you back. The book explains that this usually isn't because they want you to fail, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation, or because they are projecting their own fears onto you. They may think they are protecting you from disappointment, but in reality, they are trying to keep you within the boundaries of what they understand. Learning to navigate this is vital because external validation is a trap. If you rely on the approval of those around you to fuel your dreams will only ever be as big as their imagination. The book teaches us that it is okay to love people while simultaneously disregarding their advice. You have to develop a filter for the feedback you receive. You must ask yourself, does this person have a life or the mindset that I am striving for? If the answer is no, then their practical advice is likely just a reflection of their own limitations. Protecting your vision from the doubt of others is not an act of arrogance, it's an act of survival. Relate this to a gardener protecting a new sprout. You don't let everyone trample over the soil just because they mean well. You put up a fence until the plant is strong enough to stand on its own. Your vision needs that same kind of protection in its early stages. You have to be okay with being misunderstood for a while. Now we move to the next point, which involves the radical act of choosing to belong in spaces where you feel like an outsider, claiming your seat at the table. A recurring theme in the book is the idea that you don't need an invitation to belong in the rooms where decisions are made. Many of us spend our lives waiting for someone in a position of power to notice us and pick us. We think that once we achieve a certain level of success, we will finally feel like we belong. However, the lesson here is that belonging is a choice you make internally. You must decide that you belong at the table long before you are ever invited to sit there. This is about self-selected worthiness. This point is essential because if you enter a room feeling like an interloper, you will subconsciously act like one. You will shrink your voice. You will hesitate to share your ideas, and you will look for reasons to leave. But when you walk in with the belief that your perspective is valuable and that you have a right to be there, the atmosphere changes. People respond to the energy of someone who knows they belong. The book challenges us to stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do I like them?" Or, "Is this the right table for my mission?" It's a total power shift that puts you back in the driver's seat of your career and your life. A short example of this is the person who walks into a high-level networking event and, instead of hiding in the corner, walks up to the most influential person in the room and introduces themselves. They aren't doing it because they are fearless. They are doing it because they decided that their mission is more important than their temporary discomfort. They've already given themselves the seat in their own mind. Now we move to the next point, which explores the profound strength found in the things we usually try to hide, our scars and our struggles, turning scars into strengths. We often spend a great deal of energy trying to hide our past failures, our insecurities, or the broken parts of our stories. We think that to be successful, we have to appear flawless and untouched by struggle. However, the book argues the exact opposite. Your scars are actually your credentials. The very things you are ashamed of, the bankruptcy, the failed relationship, the time you were fired, or your physical insecurities, are the things that make you relatable and trustworthy. When you own your story, including the messy parts, you take away the power that those things have over you. This is a deep but clean concept. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a bridge. When you are honest about your struggles, you create a space for others to be honest about theirs. This builds a community of real people rather than a network of perfect masks. In business and in life, people are drawn to those who have been through the fire and come out the other side. Your scars prove that you are resilient. They prove that you have skin in the game. By reframing your flaws as features of your character, you transform your greatest liabilities into your most powerful assets. Think of a piece of pottery that has been broken and then repaired with gold, a practice known as kintsugi. The cracks don't make the piece less valuable. They make it a one-of-a-kind work of art that tells a story of survival. Your life is the same. The cracks in your journey are where the light of your character shines through most clearly. Now we move to the next point, which addresses the vital distinction between being a victim of your circumstances and being a victor over them. Choosing the victor mindset, life will inevitably throw things at you that are unfair. You will face biases, bad luck, and people who actively work against you. The book makes a strong distinction between acknowledging those hardships and letting them define your identity. To have victor energy means that while you recognize the obstacles in your path, you refuse to give them the power to determine your destination. A victim mindset focuses on why things are happening to them, while a victor mindset focuses on how they can grow through them. This is a crucial mindset shift because the moment you blame your lack of success on external factors, you hand over your power to those factors. If the reason you haven't succeeded is the economy or that person, then you have to wait for the economy or that person to change before you can move forward. But if you take total responsibility for your reaction to those circumstances, you regain control. The book isn't saying that life is fair. It's saying that you are powerful enough to win even when the deck is stacked against you. It's about looking at a no or a setback and saying, "This is happening for me, not to me." For instance, if someone loses their job, a victim mindset says, "I was treated unfairly, and now I'm stuck." A victor mindset says, "I was treated unfairly, and now I'm going to use this forced exit to finally start the project I've been putting off." Both are true, but only one leads to a better future. As we go deeper into the journey of self-belief, we must address the most pervasive shadow that follows almost every creator, entrepreneur, and dreamer, the underlying feeling that you are fundamentally not enough. This isn't just about a lack of skills or experience. It's a deeper, more emotional belief that who you are at your core is somehow insufficient for the magnitude of your goals. The book suggests that this narrative is the single greatest barrier to success. We often tell ourselves that we will feel enough once we hit a certain revenue goal, get a specific title, or receive validation from a certain person. But the reality is that enoughness is a starting point, not a finish line. This concept is vital because when you operate from a place of not enough, you are always in a defensive posture. You are afraid of being found out. You overcompensate for your perceived flaws, and you struggle to take the bold risks necessary for growth. The book encourages us to flip this script. You have to decide that you are already enough exactly as you are, right now, in this moment, with all your current limitations. When you believe you are enough, you stop trying to prove your worth and start trying to fulfill your purpose. This shift allows you to be more creative, more resilient, and more present. It turns your work from a desperate plea for approval into a confident expression of your truth. Think about the difference between someone trying to win a race to prove they aren't a loser versus someone running because they love to run. The second person is far more likely to endure the long miles because their worth isn't tied to the trophy at the end. They are enough, whether they come in first or last. In your life, deciding you are enough is the ultimate act of rebellion against a world that profits from your insecurity. Now we move to the next point, which explores the practical side of this mindset. How we find the courage to actually start before the fear goes away. The courage to start small and messy. One of the most paralyzing traps we fall into is the idea that our first step has to be perfect. We wait until we have the perfect business plan, the perfect website, or the perfect speech before we let anyone see what we're working on. The book argues that this perfectionism is actually just fear in a fancy suit. It is a way of staying safe by staying hidden. The truth is that the most successful ventures didn't start in a polished boardroom. They started in living rooms, garages, and on the backs of napkins. The most important thing isn't how you start, but that you start. Understanding this is important because momentum is the only cure for doubt. When you are standing still, your fears have plenty of room to grow. But the moment you take a small, messy action, you create feedback. You learn what works and what doesn't. The book teaches us to embrace the scrappy phase of any journey. Being scrappy means you are resourceful. You are willing to do the unglamorous work, and you don't care if things look a little rough around the edges. This phase is where the real character of a project is built. By giving yourself permission to be a beginner and to make mistakes in public, you bypass the paralysis that keeps most people on the sidelines. Consider the early days of any great innovation. The first version of almost every product we use today was probably slow, ugly, and slightly broken. If the creators had waited for version 10.0, we would never have seen version 1.0. Your life and your dreams work the same way. You have to be willing to be version 1.0 for a while. Now we move to the next point, which looks at how the people you choose to have in your corner can either amplify your momentum or drain your energy. Curating your circle of belief. As you begin to step into your power, the environment you inhabit becomes incredibly important. The book discusses the idea that you are the average of the people you spend the most time with, but it takes it a step further. It isn't just about their success levels, it's about their belief levels. If you are surrounded by people who are cynical, small-minded, or constantly checking your ego, it will be almost impossible for you to maintain your own sense of belief. You need a tribe of people who don't just tolerate your big dreams, but actively fuel them. This is critical because belief is a contagious energy. When you are around people who are also taking risks and betting on themselves, your own risks don't feel as terrifying. This doesn't mean you should only hang out with yes people who never challenge you. On the contrary, you need people who will tell you the truth, but who tell it from a place of wanting you to succeed. The book encourages us to be ruthless about who gets access to our inner circle. If someone consistently brings doubt, judgment, or reality checks that feel like anchors, it might be time to put some distance between you and them. You owe it to your calling to protect the soil in which your dreams are growing. A simple way to look at this is the radiator versus drain analogy. Some people are like radiators. They provide warmth, energy, and encouragement. Others are like drains. They suck the life out of every room they enter. To protect your self-belief, you have to spend as much time as possible near the radiators and as little time as possible near the drains. Now we move to the next point, which examines a quality that is often overlooked in the world of high-stakes business: the power of radical kindness. The strength of kindness in a harsh world. There is a common myth that to be successful, especially in business, you have to be cutthroat, cold, and willing to step on others to get to the top. The book completely rejects this narrative. Instead, it posits that kindness, integrity, and treating people with genuine respect are actually some of the most powerful business tools available. When you lead with kindness, you aren't being soft. You are building a culture of trust and loyalty that pays dividends for years. People want to work with, buy from, and support people they actually like and respect. This is a vital lesson because your character is the only thing that stays with you regardless of whether your project succeeds or fails. If you win at the cost of your integrity, you haven't really won. The book emphasizes that how you treat people who can do nothing for you is the true measure of your character. Whether it's a security guard, a junior employee, or a high-level investor, every interaction is an opportunity to practice your values. In the long run, being a good human creates a reputation that opens doors that no amount of money or marketing can. Kindness is a long-game strategy that builds an unshakable foundation of goodwill. Think of it this way. A bridge built on solid, honest materials can weather any storm. A bridge built on shortcuts and deception might look good for a while, but it will eventually collapse under pressure. Your character is the material your life is built from. Keeping it strong and kind ensures that your success is sustainable and meaningful. Now we move to the next point, which addresses the inevitable moment when things go wrong, and you have to decide whether to stay the course or change direction. Mastering the art of the pivot. No journey is a straight line. You will eventually hit a wall where your current strategy simply isn't working anymore. The book explores the importance of the pivot, the ability to change your tactics without changing your ultimate goal. Many people mistake a pivot for giving up, but they are very different things. Giving up is walking away from the mission because it's hard. Pivoting is staying committed to the mission, but being humble enough to admit that the current way of doing things isn't the right one. This is important because rigidity is the enemy of progress. If you are too attached to how you get there, you might miss the very opportunity that was meant to take you to the top. The book teaches us to be firm on the destination, but flexible on the path. A pivot requires you to set aside your ego and look at the data and the feedback objectively. It requires the courage to say, I thought this was the way, but I was wrong, and now I'm going to try something else. This adaptability is what separates the survivors from those who fade away. It's about staying in the game long enough to find the path that actually works. Imagine you're hiking and the trail is washed out. You don't just sit down and wait to die. You look for a different trail that leads to the same mountain peak. That is a pivot. It's a sign of intelligence and resilience, not failure. Now we move to the next point, which deals with the concept of abundance. The belief that there is enough success to go around for everyone. Moving from competition to abundance. In many industries, there is a scarcity mindset. The belief that if someone else succeeds, it somehow takes away from your own potential success. This leads to jealousy, comparison, and a constant sense of anxiety. The book challenges us to move into an abundance mindset. This is the realization that another person's light doesn't dim your own. In fact, when you celebrate the success of others, you actually align yourself with the energy of success. There's room for everyone at the top, and your unique knowing ensures that your path is specifically designed for you. Understanding this shift is transformative because it frees you from the trap of comparison. When you stop looking at what everyone else is doing to see if you're ahead or behind, you can focus all your energy on your own work. Comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also the thief of progress. An abundance mindset allows you to build bridges and collaborations instead of walls. It turns competitors into colleagues. When you operate from a place of abundance, you become a magnet for opportunities because people are naturally drawn to those who are secure enough to lift others up. Think of a candle. If you use your flame to light another person's candle, the room just gets brighter. You haven't lost any of your own fire. Success works the same way. The more people who are lit up by their own belief, the better the world becomes for everyone. One of the most liberating shifts you can make is to stop viewing being underestimated as an insult and start viewing it as a massive strategic advantage. Throughout our lives, we often feel the sting of people not taking us seriously. We feel the weight of being the long shot or the person no one expects to win. However, the book teaches us that when people underestimate you, they also stop paying attention to you. This gives you the freedom to work in the quiet without the intense pressure of constant scrutiny. It allows you to innovate, experiment, and build your foundation without the competition breathing down your neck. This concept is important because it changes your emotional response to being overlooked. Instead of feeling hurt or invisible, you begin to feel empowered. You realize that you have the element of surprise on your side. While the experts are busy watching each other, you are busy building something that they won't see coming until it's already changed the game. Being underestimated is like having a stealth mode for your dreams. It allows you to focus on the work rather than the optics. By the time the world realizes who you are and what you're capable of, you've already built an unshakable momentum. Think of a sports team that everyone has written off as the underdog. Because no one expects them to win, they play with a level of freedom and grit that the favorites often lack. They have nothing to lose and everything to gain. That same underdog energy can be the fuel that drives your most significant breakthroughs. Now we move to the next point, which explores the spiritual foundation that keeps a dream alive when logic says it's over. the role of faith and surrender. While self-belief is the core of this journey, the book also emphasizes that you don't have to carry the entire weight of your vision on your own shoulders. This concept introduces the idea of faith, the belief that there is a higher power, a divine plan, or a universal energy that is working alongside you. For many, this is a literal faith in God. For others, it is a trust in the timing of the universe. The key lesson here is the balance between hustle and surrender. You are responsible for doing 100% of the work you can do, but you must also learn to surrender the results to a power greater than yourself. This is a vital distinction because it protects you from the crushing pressure of perfectionism. When you believe that everything depends solely on your effort, every setback feels like a personal failure. But when you operate from a place of faith, you understand that a no might be God's way of protecting you, or that a delay is simply a season of preparation. It allows you to maintain your peace in the middle of a storm. Faith doesn't mean you sit back and wait for things to happen. It means you work with all your heart while trusting that the how and the when are being handled by something much bigger than you. An example of this is the moment you've prepared for a big presentation. You've done all the research, and you've practiced until you're exhausted. At that point, you have to let go. You have to trust that whatever happens is exactly what needs to happen for your growth. This surrender isn't about giving up. It's about having the peace to know you've done your part. Now we move to the next point, which is the final destination of any journey built on self-belief, using your success to light the way for others. Success as a platform for service. The ultimate goal of believing in yourself is not just to win or to accumulate wealth. It is to build a platform that allows you to serve others at a higher level. The book makes it clear that true success is a full circle. It begins with you finding the courage to believe in your own worth, but it ends with you using that worth to empower those who are still struggling. Philanthropy and giving back are not things you do eventually when you have extra money. They are the very heartbeat of the mission from day one. When your success becomes a tool for good, it takes on a meaning that can never be taken away from you. This is important because it provides a North Star for your ambition. When things get difficult, reminding yourself of the lives you can impact keeps you in the game. It's the realization that your success isn't just for you. It's for the person who is currently where you used to be. By sharing your story, your resources, and your influence, you become the yes for someone else who has only heard no. This level of impact is what creates a lasting legacy. It turns a business or a career into a calling. Consider the ripple effect of one person standing in their truth. When you succeed, you don't just change your own life. You change the trajectory of your family, your community, and everyone who sees your example. Your belief in yourself becomes the permission slip for others to believe in themselves. That is the highest form of success. The journey we have taken through these ideas is much more than a collection of business strategies or motivational tips. It is a call to return to the truth of who you are. We began by identifying that quiet, persistent inner voice, the knowing, and learned how to prioritize it over the loud, often discouraging voices of the world. We have seen how rejection, rather than being a sign of failure, is actually a tool for redirection that prepares you for a higher calling. As mentioned earlier, even the parts of your story that feel like scars are actually the very things that qualify you to lead and inspire others. The final takeaway from this book is that your worth is not a variable that changes based on your performance, your bank account, or the opinions of experts. Your worth is a constant. The moment you stop seeking external permission to exist in your greatness is the moment you truly begin to live. The world doesn't need another imitation of someone else's success. It needs the raw, authentic, and scrappy version of you that is willing to start before you feel ready. Choosing to believe in yourself is a radical act that changes the atmosphere around you. It shifts you from a place of not enough to a place of abundance, where you can celebrate the success of others while standing firmly in your own light. You have seen that being underestimated is not a weakness, but a quiet power that allows you to build something meaningful without the distraction of the spotlight. And ultimately, you have learned that the success you build is meant to be a platform for service, a way to light the path for the next person who is currently sitting where you once were, wondering if they have what it takes. As you move forward, Carry the realization that you are the victor of your story. The no's you encounter are simply the universe's way of ensuring you are on the right path, and the unqualified feelings you experience are just the growing pains of a new level of influence. You don't need to wait for a seat at the table to be offered to you. You have already claimed at the moment you decided that your vision was worth the effort. Now is the time to trust that your internal compass is accurate. Trust that your journey, with all its pivots and messy starts, is leading you exactly where you need to be. The narrative of not enough ends here. Your story is valuable, your perspective is needed, and your potential is limitless. It's time to stop doubting your light and start letting it shine. It is time to truly believe it,